Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this press briefing being hosted by Mr. Ralph Thorne, the leader of the opposition. Here this morning, we will hear honest voices for the people. Mr. Thorne is being buttressed by many of our spokespeople. We have Mr. Alvin Toppin, who is the spokesperson on culture and creative arts. Melissa Howard, who is representing single mothers. She's a spokesperson for single mothers. And we have Felicia Dujan, spokesperson on education. And next to her, we have Dr. Derek Alling, the executive assistant in the leader of the opposition's office. And again, this morning, we welcome a very important sector in our community, the Fisher folk of Barbados. Welcome. It's very pleasing to see you here, all here this morning. And here, I hand over now to Mr. Thorne. Good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Aline, and thank you very much. Good morning, colleagues.
Good morning.
And good morning to the members of the Fisher folk, those persons who are continuing to protest government's inaction and ill treatment of the sector. Government continues to refuse not to meet their demand, but to meet a promise that government made to them in the aftermath of Hurricane Beryl, in the aftermath of a hurricane which destroyed more than 90% of the industry. And perhaps government felt morally, politically, and legally obligated to assist them as they have assisted other sectors in Barbados, except that government continues to frustrate them. And that is why we're here today, to express dissatisfaction, discontent with government's continued ill treatment of this important sector in Barbados. I don't think we should treat it as any coincidence that this crisis in the fishing industry exists alongside a food shortage in Barbados. I don't think we are going to wake up one morning and find that there's no food in Barbados. It seems to be something gradual. It seems to be something that is happening gradually. That you're going to the supermarket on weekends. Last weekend, for example, there were no bananas. You're going to the supermarket in Barbados and there's no chicken. You're going to the supermarket in Barbados and fish is in short supply. And I don't think it is any coincidence that this is happening while this crisis in the fishing industry continues. And while this crisis continues, government continues to frustrate these ladies and gentlemen who have labored hard for this country to provide food. We said on the last occasion that none of us will be present in this country unless we have food. And that's the reality of life, that everything begins at our ability or our access to food. And the availability of food in Barbados is in doubt, in crisis. And meanwhile, government continues to ill-treat these persons. I want to say that there's a certain indignity with which the government is treating members of the Fisher Folk Association. They're not other sectors, other productive sectors that normally have to beg, that normally have to hold press conferences out of the opposition offices of a country to ask government to meet a promise. There's no other sector that I've ever seen doing this. And I want to apologize to all of you for the fact that this is going on. I want to express disappointment on your behalf that you're forced to come before cameras and to display the courage that you're displaying in coming here to insist that government meets a promise to you. There's a certain indignity about it, but we tried to keep it at a fairly official level. We wrote to them, we wrote to the fisheries, we explained the plight that they are undergoing, and we kept it at that level. We did not intend to go into the street, we did not intend to come to the media, but we are forced to do this. we're forced to invite you here this morning to highlight a crisis that is visiting their lives. And I'm not sure why government would treat Bishop Folk like this. I don't know if it has to do with how people are stereotyped. But however they're stereotyped, they have courage. And they're honest people. They make an honest living. And to have to come to before cameras and before recorders and to ask for $1,500 a month, promise September, October, November. There's something infidel about that. I'm sorry. To come to ask for $1,500, and in the case of boat owners, $2,000,
Yes, please.
and fishermen, $2,000.
Fisherman.
$1,500 as well.
Yes.
There we are. Now, on the last occasion that we did this, 2 Thursdays ago, I believe on the same day, one of the ministers came and accused these ladies and gentlemen of having failed to meet certain formalities, that is to say, fill out forms, making applications for the assistance. That is not true. All of these persons that you see here and all of their colleagues who supported and who came to the conference on the last occasion had filled out the forms, but the says that and invites a certain antipathy against these people, portraying them as people who are disorganized and reckless, and they're asking for money and they're not meeting formalities. That is not true. All of these persons met the formalities. But, beg your pardon? 4 times. 4 times they met those formalities. Yet, we need to come back here a week and a half later and to ask government to do what it promised to do. I don't know what will be their response this time. I can tell you what was their response last time. On the last occasion of this media conference, I think they paid about 3 of you, correct? About 3 of you got paid.
Not us.
Not you, but I mean 3 of the group.
Fishermen.
Fishermen. They
Not
paid
the
3,
vendors.
not the vendors. They paid 3 fishermen. They have come as a group, and we are insisting that government pays them. What is the excuse this time? And I've made a comment before as to the peculiar politics of this government. If the government is not treating the issue seriously, they send the junior minister. When the government purports that it is taking the matter seriously, you know who comes, who talks loud, the prime minister. So that the evidence that government is not taking these Bishop Folk seriously lies in the fact that they're sending a junior minister to address the issue. And I'm sorry, the junior minister has not given the fullest of facts. All of these persons have met the formalities for the application for public assistance. I spoke on the last occasion about sending a group of people to Canada to look at a boat. Nothing has happened since then. I heard a certain prime minister say yesterday that sometimes he wonders if, when he is going to all these overseas conferences, if that money should not be used to help people in need in his country. I heard a prime minister of the Caribbean say that just yesterday, that he wonders, and I'm going to repeat it, that he wonders if when he is making all these overseas trips, if the money cannot be better used to help people in the country who need help. And he went on to say that the prime ministers of CARICOM have the competence, the opportunity, the capacity, the ability to speak for each other. So that sometimes you don't need 4 and 5 CARICOM prime ministers in one location saying the same thing. There are people back home who need help. I heard him say that. And I wondered. So that while we are in Azerbaijan talking climate change, and climate change is an issue, while we're there talking climate change, the social climate in this country is not good. There are people in this country suffering. I spoke of government's moral obligation to pay these monies. I made the demand on the last occasion that the government needs to increase the amounts, and that is to say beyond November. I don't know why a government would promised to pay people September, October, November, and the critical month of Christmas and the critical month of January is excluded. Why? Why are you treating people like this? We don't know. We don't know. As I said, is it stereotyping? Are these people that you take less seriously? Are these people who you can marginalize? You can't marginalize people who produce food. As I said earlier, if we don't have food, we have nothing. Now, I'm going to go back to this. Before I did what I'm doing now, I was a lawyer, and I'm still a lawyer, and I hope I have some little knowledge of the law. I have argued before that government ought to have made better preparation for the fisher folk, the ships, the boats in that harbor across the street, and that government was at fault for the destruction of several of those boats. I have then subsequently heard a statement by a minister in which he admitted, it's here on this phone, in which he admitted that they sent out these marine drones, these autonauts. And he said that they went as far out as 400 miles. Mr. Abrams, unless it is an AI video, Mr. Abrams has said that we knew in advance, and he said particularly in relation to Beryl, that these autonauts, these marine drones went out 400 miles. And then he went on to say, and we knew that the waves would have been devastating. And we called the boats into the harbor, which is precisely the point we argued against, that the boats should not have been bundled into a confined space. Those boats, many of them were destroyed because they were in a confined space. And I wonder if the government does not now, in the aftermath of his statement, feel legally obligated to compensate them because government has contributed towards the destruction of the boats. You can argue act of God, but this is not the time to blame God for your negligence. They were at cricket. All of them, from the Prime Minister back down when the storm was coming, they were at Kensington, fetting in the plush streets of Kensington. And these ladies and gentlemen, this thing happened months ago. And months later, they're still awaiting $1,500. And I feel so embarrassed. I really do feel embarrassed that we have to set up all of this and bring the media here to see their cousins begging the government to give them $1,500. But if we have to do it, we'll do it. There's no other avenue for these ladies and gentlemen here. They have come here voluntarily. There's no other avenue for them. We've written to fisheries. We are awaiting a response from fisheries. We've had a response from a minister which is not satisfactory. We've heard, I was in the House, and I've heard that there's this Provident Fund of $2 million set aside, and I've heard about the World Bank and all these people about to lend money. Well, as we say in Barbados, the grass is growing, but the horse starving. I don't know how these ladies and gentlemen are paying bills. They have bills to pay. Please, government, put them in a position in which they can make a living from day to day. We're not enjoying this. We've had several press conferences on matters political. This is now a matter of human rights. Human rights. The rights of people to live and to survive. And as I've said, and to eat. And for all of us to eat. And as I've said, I don't consider it to be any coincidence that this crisis is occurring while the supermarkets and the shops are short on food. As I've said, the problem of food security is not going to occur with a bang. It will occur gradually. And we suspect and we think that the problem of food security in Barbados has started, and it coincides with this crisis here in the fishing industry. And Barbadians need to understand that as Christmas approaches, we have a problem with our food security in Barbados. And we need to understand that these people who toil and labor every day, that they also, their lives are in crisis. They have bills to pay, they have children, they have houses to run, they have vehicles to support. And the government just comes out, it is such contemptuous treatment of people that you bring them to a place like this to make a public appeal. And then a minister comes and contradicts them. That is what the government did. And in the aftermath of the minister contradicting them, they're saying they didn't fill out forms. that they're irresponsible and reckless. And all the nonsense about they don't have insurance. And in the aftermath of that, what do we have? A refusal to meet a promise. Well, the time for soft talk has ended. We are now going to make the demand on your behalf that those paltry payments must extend into Christmas. They must extend into next year. We have made the promise that on the last occasion, we are going to disclose the amounts, massive amounts, millions of dollars of assistance given to other sectors. I don't think that time has come. But I want to warn Barbadians about something. I want to warn you, fisher folk, about something. I am wondering if this is not an opportunity, if government's failure to support you is not now an opportunity for other persons to get involved in the industry. Because if government tells a man who has a boat that he needs $400,000 to repair that boat, that they're going to give him $100,000, where is he going to get $300,000 from at the age of 65, 70, 75? Where is he going to get it from? I'm wondering if this crisis is not offering to other persons who've never been involved in fishing. I'm wondering if this crisis is not government's way of opening the door to persons who have never been involved in the industry. And I'm wondering if these persons and these boat owners are not about to be supplanted by other persons who have lots of cash and who can afford to own the boats in this country. The boats that are still lying at the bottom of the harbor out there. They haven't dredged it yet. The harbor remains in a state of chaos and disrepair. Their lives are in a state of chaos and disrepair. And you know, when something is destroyed, there's always a chance to rebuild it. We are wondering if this industry, if there are plans to be made to rebuild this industry with persons other than these people behind us. It's just something we're wondering about. I'm inviting the public to ask that question. I'm inviting the public to ask that question as to whether there are persons being subtly invited to join and to own and to control an industry that others have controlled for the last 100 years. Whether out of destruction will arise a new master of the fishing faith. I'm wondering if that is about to happen. And I'm wondering if the delay in making payments to these persons is not a way to frustrate them and ultimately drive them out, or to consign them to the bottommost places of the industry while new masters emerge. The beauty of the fishing industry has been dominated and controlled by people like them. This is now the opportunity for the non-traditional participants to take part in the industry. And that is a deep concern that we have. They may say that the hurricane destroyed the industry, but government appears to be putting it into burial. You kill and then you bury. We're not accusing the government of bringing the hurricane. We're accusing the government of negligent response. Yes. But government now has to prove to these persons and to Barbadians, the good, honest Barbadians, whether the delay, whether it's dereliction, is not related to an attempt to occupy this industry with new masters. That's the question we leave with Barbadians. Derek, Dr. Aline has been in touch. We are physical neighbors. For those who don't know, we are in Street. And we have established a liaison of marriage with the industry. And Derek has been in daily contact with them, and Derek will address, Dr. Ali will address more immediate issues that he has faced over the past few weeks in trying to bring resolution to this crisis. Thanks, Rose.
Go ahead, Dr. Ali.
Good morning and thanks for inviting me to return to share the experience I've had over the last 2 weeks with this report. at least 2 or 3 days each week I've been down to the market. Visits. I've seen them visit the fisheries department, come back home in frustration, having been asked to come to the office. You reach the office, say the documentation is in the account section. Can we go to accounts? Nope, you can't go to accounts. Come back tomorrow. You come back the next day, the same frustration. I think it is really inhuman, this kind of behavior. So we treated the people who work hard. We have people in this group who will be 40 years in the industry. After 3 months, not one payment, while others have received September, October, and November infinite, but some people have already received November. That cannot be fair. Cannot be fair. It seems to have been certain people can get payments, but others cannot. They all are in the same crisis. Water bills, light bills, rent, food, children to go to school, grandchildren to go to school, and this is definitely not good enough. But the problem also comes with the double sort of speak coming from the minister. When we finished our conference 2 weeks ago, the minister journeys, that's the minister for it, I think his journeys to the market is complex. And he tells the fishing folk, when I'm finished with the boat owners and the crew, whatever is left over, I will divide between y'all. Crumbs, whatever is left over. He also intimates that when he earlier spoke, he did not include the fishing folk, which is contrary to what the Prime Minister said on June 5th at Elara Court this year. At Elara Court, to a press conference, Prime Minister Morley said, all will benefit from the employment interruption benefit that he installed during COVID. And during COVID, the fishing folk went to the ministry in Warrens and received compensation for loss of employment during COVID. And the Prime Minister reiterated on June 5th that each of them will benefit from the same fund. Now the minister is intimating that he did not include them. Is the minister saying that what the Prime Minister said is not true? Or that he does not intend to live up to it? He should explain to Barbados and to the fishing folk if that is his intention. But you see, the minister is double speaking. He said last week that all 400 and somebody fishing folks had received benefit. In 2018, Barbados had 477 Moses, 242 launches, 173 ice boats, 36 longliners, 938 fishing vessels were in Barbados. So you can't say all that. And we have 300 odd people who have not received a thing.
Correct.
300. And the minister continues to confuse it. Let's give them the something. The Barbados Emergency and Response Project Policy 507190 and the stakeholders engagement plan were to be operational by now. We received $500,000 from the CUF, the Caribbean Development Bank, the Regional Development Bank, $500,000. And the minister goes in the paper last week and says that he has spent $1.5 million. So what? You get $500,000 as a grant. You have a fund set up for that purpose. You should be spending $9 million already. Your numbers in your National Fisheries Project says that over 3,000 people work directly in fisheries. Your number is not mine. The National Policy on Fishing or Fisheries says over 3,000 people directly involved in fishing, and if you stretch the food chain out, you can get 13 or 14,000 people. Those are who are affected by this issue. 5% of the employment force in fisheries. Are you treating them as though they're rah-rah? These people have families, Mr. Minister, Prime Minister. You gave your word on the 5th of June. Please help these people. I'm going to ask other Barbadians, your chance may come. We heard a lady from the farming community last week speaking to the cost of living, and the prices coming outside of Barbados are more expensive than the ones here. It will soon be the sheep farmers. When all the belly, that belly, to Suriname and Guyana. It may soon be the people who sell produce along the road, who depend on going to the small farmer, buying a pound of yams, let's call it, a rod, and then selling them at $6 or $7 a pound. They don't have to sell them at $9 a pound. Sweet potatoes and yams, the staples for Barbadians. So if you start treating the fisheries like this, you will get to those small people who sell potatoes and yams and plantains, and then who's next? Who's next? Is there one set of treatment for one sector of Barbados? $300 million to tourism. And you spend $1.5 million on hollering for murder because of this fisherman. Because my grandfather was a fisherman chief. I take objection. But you see, the Prime Minister is not here. So we have to appeal to who is here. So until the Prime Minister get back, could somebody from Cabinet at least meet with the fishing folks, not 3 or 4 of them as he did last week in the terminal, fish terminal. Officially call them to the office and let them bring a delegation and sit down on the table and give us some timelines. Well, we really don't have all the money now, but we're going to give you in 3 months, and we'll give a little bit more, some interest. Because the landlords are waiting. They're giving them extensions on their rent. They have to send messages to the Light and Power. Go into the waterworks and say, look, we are waiting on the promised money. All right now, sir, when I spoke to them this week, they will be doing 1,000 pounds of amber fish. Like no, sir. They don't have any amber fish. They'll be earning money all right now. All the fish in the market are imported fish. Amber fish, this is the season for amber fish, but the boats are under the water outside, and some of them haul up. What are these people to do? They are not entitled to unemployment benefit, and that is why the fund was set up. So don't come and say you set up a fund, and don't tell them that you can't get paid with the fund, plus you get some money from the CUF. Mr. Ford, you have come from small, humble backgrounds. You may even have family and friends that are fishermen. Find the energy, find the money, find the time, and help this crowd of people. But before I shut off, the ice machines were all down. One got fixed on Thursday. One single ice machine working. There are problems in getting diesel. Last week, a long line fisherman owner want to call this office and say that normally they can buy ice from the terminals at cost that can make them survive. He has to go in the open market and buy a bag of ice for $18. And if he needs 20 bags of ice for that day, he don't know how much he can charge the fishermen that he taking up the long list, the people, the tourist list. My grandfather worked. How much he can charge them on his boat. By the time some of them have to go to Grenada.
Yes.
Some go to Grenada and come back up. Because they can't get bait unless they got ice, right?
Yes. That's right.
So they got $900 before they count one person. $900 is the cost before you put one person on your boat. And the minister wants to keep comfortable. Coming in the market and trying to embarrass him, telling him he can give him the crumbs when he done. This is Barbados, sir. And you and your government promise transparency, fairness, openness. I can read all of the manifestos and lovely terms and commitments. Let's get the action though. Let's get the action. I want to thank the leading opposition for inviting me to say something on this matter because it be bothering me now for last 2 weeks. And if the public of Barbados are not out there, if you all are not out there, we are 2 minutes walk from the fish market. We in between, fishery division in between our office and the market.
That's right.
So we traverse up and down here every day trying to get this matter resolved because we want to empathize with them. We don't have the $1,500 to give the 300 people, but that's why we pay taxes. And we pay taxes so that in an emergency, the government has to come out of the goodwill fund and help these people. Thanks again, Mr. Thorne, for inviting me to say a few words that I really wanted to get out of my stomach. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Aline. Honest voices for the people, ensuring that all Barbadians' voices on issues affecting them are heard. I now hand over to members of the media if you have any questions.
Excellent.
Hello there.
I am familiar with the words of the Prime Minister. Could you speak?
Yes,
Regards
I
to-
saw you there.
Now, with the current situation, you know that we had on Saturday night, the fisheries division and along with Hilton itself, they had a fundraiser to try to raise, I think it was $100,000 Operation Hope, I think it was called, for the fisheries.
100,000.
The 100,000. This was a Hilton Hotel project.
Yes.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
Now, given what you have said or what
Dr. Ali.
Dr. Ali has said, what do you see as the outcome for these fishing folk? Because we're hearing about funds going into various funds and grants being offered and the like. But from listening here, it is as though the people who these funds are intended to, and they're not getting it.
Yes.
What can be done to ensure that they get what is, I don't want to say what is theirs, but what has been promised?
It is theirs. It is theirs. A promise made puts property in the hands of the promisee. And I used the phrase while I was speaking to you earlier, what is the outcome? I can tell you what's happening now. And I go back to the old Bajan language. The grass is growing and the horse is starving. $100,000, that's good news. But it isn't good news for people who have not received it. And I will pause and say that the fisher folk would appreciate any efforts made within the private sector. That's noble. But we're not here to pursue the private sector. We're here to ask government to meet a promise. And government continues to breach that promise. While the Prime Minister finds herself absent. And to be honest, I'll speak honestly, I always do. Barbadians can always know when the government is taking something seriously. When the government is not taking something seriously, it sends a minister. When the government wishes to indicate that something is being taken seriously, the Prime Minister turns up. The Prime Minister has not yet turned up on this issue. We want the Prime Minister to turn. If this government is a one-person government, send the one person. Yeah, send the one person. These fisher folk are not going to be happy until the government, the one-person government, comes. It is clear that Mr. Ford has little authority to come to any conclusion. It is clear that Mr. Ford has little authority to say, send the check.
Yes,
It is clear that the Prime Minister is the only minister described in the St. George North by-election as the big works minister. All big works got to come through me. You remember that phrase?
Yeah.
And, you know, we laughed at it then. But the practice of this government bears it out to be true, that no work will be taken seriously. No work is big works unless it comes through the Prime Minister. So we are inviting the Prime Minister to ask Mr. Ford to step aside, since he has no authority, no power to deal with this, and ask the Prime Minister to visit this issue, to visit these people. She claims that she loves people and she cares for them. Please come and show her what you love them. Your Minister of Finance, write the checks for people. Don't wait on the Hilton Don't wait on the private sector.
That's true.
Come, big works, come and give,
Yeah.
come and give satisfaction to these people who are enduring suffering. From day to day, continues from day to day, you know. It is continuing from day to day. These people are not here as part of any fashion show. This is no fashion show. They're here on a serious issue, and as I said, I want to congratulate them for their courage, but I want to apologize to them that we've had to do this in public. Since there are millionaires in this country who receive assistance from government and they've never had to meet the glare of publicity to get that assistance. And I've said before that the time is coming when I'm going to say who those sectors are. But we haven't reached that point yet. Please, government, please pay people. Thank you, Mr. Jones.
I want to expand on something. I would like you to expand on something that you said in your preamble.
Yes.
You're dealing with fisheries, yes, but in the wider picture speaks to the scope of the poultry crisis. But
Yeah.
in general, there is a crisis of food supply in Barbados.
You're asserting that.
Because
I agree with you.
if there is a situation where we have vendors, produce vendors saying that they're going to see shortages.
Yes.
We are not really getting local fish on the market.
Mhm.
We have a shortage of poultry on the market.
Mhm.
I spoke to Mr. Paul, and I know that plans are afoot to have the supply of poultry back on shelves very soon.
Yes.
But it speaks to the need for some sort of planning, some sort of
Excellent.
system.
Yes.
What would you say in a case like that? What would you recommend done?
Let me tell you something. Parliament, I received notice today that Parliament meets tomorrow to acquire lands for housing. Now, we feel that people in Barbados should be housed, but you know, government has introduced another crisis into Barbados. Government has a policy now of taking up agricultural lands for two things: housing or photovoltaic installations. And we had a lady stand up here on the last occasion we did a press conference, and she said that the local agricultural industry needs to be revived. And she said she would love a piece of land to grow her vegetables, cannot get it. But here is a government and we've said this for the last year, government is de-emphasizing agricultural production. That coincides with the crisis in industry. Government is de-emphasizing agriculture for the sake of housing. Now, people do need housing, and we do need cheaper electricity bills, and that is the importance of the photovoltaic industry market and so on. But at the expense of agriculture, and the lady stood up here and told us, she gave us a lesson last time when she indicated that the vegetables and agricultural produce that was coming from the United States is more expensive than the produce that is coming from the Caribbean. So much for WTO, so much for that neoliberal project that was supposed to make things from the big countries cheaper. They're not cheaper. She told us that. That was first-hand evidence that she gave. So that a government that is thinking, and I like the use of your word, Ryan, a government that is into proper planning must plan its economy so that there is an emphasis on local agriculture, because sometimes you don't know what quality you're getting from the United States anyhow, from these mechanically produced things. The only way you can guarantee good organic produce is when it comes from the Caribbean. We don't do the scientific thing. We do the old-fashioned thing of putting the thing in the ground, growing it, and making it healthy, or ensuring that it is a good product. So that the short answer to your question, Ryan, the government needs to properly plan to put the emphasis on local agricultural production and to rationalize this matter of taking up pieces of land all over Barbados, removing them out of agriculture and putting cement on them. It seems to me that somebody's going to make a lot of money with cement and building. Seems that way to me. Concrete jungle, you say behind there. Yeah. Well, local agriculture is suffering. So that, I repeat, some builder or builders are going to make a lot of money. Some builders are going to make a lot of money out of the housing project. But it needs not to be done at the expense of agriculture. And that is what Barbadians are complaining about. You can do both. You can do housing and you can do agriculture because we need houses to live in after we get the food. But it seems that one is being done at the expense of the other. And that is not, to use your word rather, that is not good planning. That is not rational. Yeah. Thanks for the question.
Any other questions from members of the media?
Just one. Last time we were here, you gave an ultimatum. So I'm trying to understand what are your next steps following these.
Discussed that with Dr. Allen and the team this morning. We're still at the state. We have a petition done. Durban, can we get that petition across the fisheries?
We have a few more names to put on. Every day somebody has called and said, "Bad when they had," right? So we got closed off. They're closed on water. We have been taking up to yesterday. People were on voices recording. Baines Bay recording saying that they want the names added. So we will give a cutoff date and then we will hand the petition to the fisheries department who have not yet responded to the letter we've written. And we give a copy to the minister as well.
Yeah. Derek Allen, Dr. Allen is a well-known trade unionist.
Yes.
And trust me, he's going to advise us as to the next steps. He understands workers' solidarity and workers' action and workers' protest. He understands that. And we will be speaking to the Fisher folk about those activities. If government does not pay the poultry stuff, I believe they will.
I think Mr. Tony should also tell the listeners that the Fisher Folk Association last week indicated that they're going to tip the fight to government on behalf of the Fisher Folk. These ones that some of them have received, they have agreed that the ones who haven't received, they will represent them. So that's why we delayed a couple of days to give them a chance to see what they could do. Right?
If I may, I want to ask a question, but it's not quite in line with the focus of our press conference, but it is in keeping with current events. This one is for our sports people, Mr. John. Presently, we seem to have a challenge with some schools on the island. More recent, the issues that have popped up again at St. Luke's Brighton Primary, where I think today we have teachers on the compound, but not teaching. I think they're on the outside. There's no, it's gone. So when you look at what has been happening in the education sector in these schools, it begs the question, and parents can again, if we are doing enough to ensure A, safety in schools, and B, if we are serious about the whole idea of maintenance and upkeep.
Well, thank you for the question. I think one of the most important aspects of everything that we've been discussing is that the Ministry of Education confirmed that they will be taking a look at what is in the infrastructure at all schools. They provided us with the confirmation. They also told all parents and all the society that they will have a program where they'll be looking at the maintenance of schools. So the questions that we need to ask are, who are the project managers that are responsible for the upkeep of the schools? I believe that the Ministry of Housing is also responsible for the upkeep of schools. So these are two questions that we need to ask. Minister of Housing, what is happening in terms of the kinds of issues that schools are having in terms of environmental issues, and also the Ministry of Education, what kinds of mechanisms that they have. We do have a teaching commission at the Democratic Labour Party, and we have been monitoring all of what has been happening at schools. We also have a concern at what is happening at Granby Adams as well. Parents are concerned that perhaps students are online. We do not know when that shift will occur. We do not know what kinds of concerns that students have being online. We haven't heard from the ministry to give us at least a more decisive position as to when the school will be actually open face-to-face. So these have come up with some of the issues, but I think it's more than planning. I think the ministers need to be more honest with the people. And because of that, there's a lot of some sense of concerns for persons because they do not know whether the truth is being told. And so we're seeing what is happening in those schools, we're seeing what is happening to students, we're seeing what happened to teachers. And for us at the Democratic Labour Party, we're very concerned that teachers and students are being sent in an unhealthy environment. And that is very concerning for me, because when you have children and teachers falling ill at an institution that is governed by the government, then we have concerns. And I believe at some point, parents and as well as teachers and the unions responsible for the teachers as well, they'll have to stand up, because we cannot have teachers and students falling ill. They're still having concerns in terms of the air quality at some of those schools. This is an ongoing situation that we've had from the beginning of the term to where we are now, and soon school will be closed very early. We do not know what is happening. And we must also take in consideration that as long as the students are not in classes, meaning face-to-face classes, they are being deprived. They're being deprived of the curriculum. They are being deprived of the interaction that they have. And so we have to see, of course, we have to look at the research that is being done as to what is affecting those students. But of course, we also saw the report from UNICEF representative in terms of students and the intervention that is needed. And so we have to take it more of a holistic approach. But more importantly, we were asking this government to be honest with the people, be honest with parents, be honest with teachers, so that people will not place their children's life and the lives of our teachers at risk, because it's a very concerning matter for us at this moment. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Come and ask, let them see it.
My question is, only last week, we had a parent complaining to the principal of Leicester One School.
Okay, to these mics.
Okay, only last week, we had a parent complaining about her son at Leicester One School being bullied at school from children from Red Zone. That beat
Don't
up.
call the names in place.
Right, okay. Other children that beat up her son at school. Come home, he complains to his mom. The mom says she went to the school and the principal gave her no satisfaction. So what's going to happen to these children if they continue doing things like that, and the principals of these schools do nothing about it?
Well,
Who is to blame?
we have to, and one of the things I have already informed parents, please contact the office of the opposition or the Democratic Labour Party. You could reach out to us and we will act on your behalf. We are there to intervene on your behalf. I did take a note of their viral voice note. I am aware of the matter, and I'm hoping that the parent reach out to me so that we can come to some kind of discussion, not only with the school, but when children are being bullied at school, we want to ensure that they get the kind of intervention that is required, because it's a psychological abuse that they engage in. And most of the students, as we've seen, is physical harm as well, because some of them are physically hurt and assaulted. And I believe that the Ministry of Education has to take those matters seriously. We cannot have students at school in those kinds of environments. And again, we are appealing to parents as well as teachers to reach out to the opposition office as well as the Democratic Labour Party so that we know what is happening. And you can reach out to me. My number is 2427984. Reach out to me so that I can act on your behalf, because we cannot continue to have our children in unsafe environments, not only in terms of the environment, the supply, whatever it is, but of course the harm from other students. We cannot have that in our school environment at all. So yes, I am working on that. As I said before, I'm hoping that the parent reaches out to us so that we can speak on those matters a little further.
Thank you.
I have-
And when the gentleman or the lady, who is the mother of the child, when they reach out to this office, they will hear us tell them, as a matter of good legal advice. We have several lawyers as spokespersons. That's Simon Clark, who just walked through there. You will be told that when you drop your child at school, from the time that child enters the premises of the school has a legal responsibility for that child's security. And anything that goes wrong with that child, whether it comes from another child or any other person,
On the premises.
the school is legally responsible for the safety and security of that child. In law, we say the relationship between the teacher and the child is that of a parent. The teacher actually, precisely in local parentis, the teacher actually becomes the parent of the child. But beyond the teacher, the entire administration of the school, including the Ministry of Education, is responsible for the safety and security of the child. I heard the video. I heard the voice on it. And I did not understand why the lady felt that she was in a state of helplessness. She's not in a state of helplessness. From the moment something goes wrong with the child with a beaten in his mouth and so on, she should have been in her lawyer's office.
Yes.
Or at the police
At
station.
police station, that's right.
Or both. Insisting there should be a lawsuit against. I don't want to encourage Barbadians to start suing anybody. But if your child, if my child comes home beaten, the school has to tell me why, when I drop off my child at the school, he is not safe and secure. And if his safety and security are compromised, the school is legally responsible. All right, so please send that message to the lady. See her lawyer and see her lawyer soon. Miss Felicia Dujon says, see the Democratic Labour Party, you're welcome. Come and see us. We have several lawyers around here who will do the necessary thing. So no child should go to school in this country. Not one in fear or in fear of their safety and security. There is legal recourse. You're not there at sufferance, you're not there, nobody at the school is doing you a favor. The school has a legal obligation to educate you and to protect you. And I was quite distressed when I heard the thing that the lady is saying, well, I don't know where to turn next. And it is not about any gang coming in the school, it is about the school having the authority, having the responsibility, I beg your pardon, to protect all of the children, including the children who are beating the other one. All must be protected within that school system. That's what school is about. And under the Education Act, you have to send your child to school. So if the Education Act says that you have to send your child to school, in its turn, the school has to protect the child. Right up to the minister. Yes, right up to the Minister of Education. File the lawsuit.
I have a question coming in from Ms. Dujon. Are you aware, how comfortable are you with the fact that students at the Grantley Adams Memorial School are being taught online classes apparently for the whole term, the whole first term?
I am, of course, I don't think I'm either comfortable with the idea because remember with their opposition party as well as the Democratic Labour Party, we started the very first week before school reopened to inform parents and to inform the nation that those schools were not prepared, but the ministry said something else. And so what we're saying now is that when you do not tell the truth, this is some of the consequences of not telling the truth, and now our students are the ones who have to suffer because of that. One of the aspects that I've also noted is that some of the students are using the new tablets and some of them are unfamiliar with the tablets itself. They're unfamiliar in how to use it. Some of the teachers are still getting trained or perhaps may not have received any training on that. And also we have to remember during the time of COVID, we had the report in terms of how students were adapting to being online. And so some of those concerns are valid concerns, and I believe that the board of directors at the school, board of management, has a responsibility to inform parents when, or even the ministry has a responsibility to inform parents as to when they believe that students will return face-to-face, because our students, they cannot be deprived of being in classes. And I think it's important because of the inactions of the ministry. This is what is happening at this point. This is why we're seeing most of the schools are not prepared. We're seeing many of those challenges is because the ministry did not take into consideration that they have to do constant maintenance of those schools, and of course to ensure and avoid those kinds of circumstances that we have. So what we will have to do is to recognize that those students that are online, what is happening to them? We'll have to do some kind of survey to see, or some kind of research to see, are they actually learning the curriculum as they're going along? Because they're online as compared to their peers at other schools. So it's very important that we have to look at that. And I believe that the Ministry of Education owes it to parents. It's your responsibility to inform parents when do you believe that school will be open face-to-face for that school. And also What kinds of interventions that are you giving those students that are online? Because I know they're suffering. I've been getting calls from parents. I know that it's a challenge for them to do that as well. And of course, in terms of the technical classes, it's very important to look into those kinds of matters because some of the students need to be in classes. If you're doing chemistry, you can't do it online. You need to be classes, technical classes, or the technical drawing. I believe our students are being deprived because persons who were responsible for doing the job missing the mark. And at this point, this is what is happening. And I cannot reiterate it enough that the Ministry of Education need to get the act together because it's our students that will be suffering in the next few years. And we're seeing, as I said before, we're seeing what the UNICEF representative have said, that our students, 1/3 of our students are not completing the prerequisites for higher education. And that's concerning. And so if we are the ones that are adding or contributing to our students failing in those courses, then we have to take a deeper look at ourselves. So again, I will reiterate that the Board of Management need to inform parents when are those students returning to face-to-face. Because I heard it was January 2025, but we're not sure an entire term. From the entire term, students have to be online. And so this is a very concerning matter. I'm not comfortable with it at all because I believe that the students have the right to be in class and they should not have been deprived because someone in the ministry or persons in the ministry did not believe that it was important enough to ensure that those schools were prepared before students returned to school.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dujon. I turn now to Senator Worrell.
Right, good morning to all of those present, to the media, and to those following online. Well, my task here coming after such an impassioned discussion with regard to the plight of the persons in the fisheries division and also within the schools as well, but to do a bit of housekeeping on behalf of the Democratic Labour Party. I know it seems as though there's doom and gloom going across Barbados, but we need to celebrate our 50th anniversary of independence and to remember that pride and industry in Barbados, and that is the only way that we will get through all of these challenges, to remember to instill that pride and industry. The fisher folk, which are on the Barbados dollar, that is part of the pride and industry of Barbados that we need to celebrate as we celebrate our 50th anniversary of independence. It seems as though we have forgotten this in this country. And that's why the Democratic Labour Party has taken on board a number of activities to celebrate the 58th anniversary of independence. Because independence is important to us, we must remember the legacy of our Walter Barrow, and nothing in Barbados will ever be able to diminish that. Don't care how you try, you can never take away from the legacy of our Walter Barrow. And I think that if we get back to what he instilled in the people of Barbados, all of these issues will become minor and be dealt with, because he believed in terms of teaching people a skill and helping them to develop. That is why our fisher folk should be that important to us, that we should be able to treat them as important and give them the resources that they require. But I'm here to promote the activities of the Democratic Labour Party. Now, on Saturday, the 23rd of November, we will be having the Ralph Thorne 2020 Classic. And it will be a bittersweet moment because the Classic will be a Memorial Shield, the Walter Blackman Memorial Challenge Shield. And we wish to extend condolences to his family, but also to thank them for agreeing to allow us to have this Memorial Classic Shield. As you know, we would have lost Walter Blackman, who was an outstanding Barbadian, an actuary who spoke passionately about the national insurance and who cared deeply about the development of Barbados. So we thought it fitting to honor him with this Walter Blackman Memorial Challenge Shield, which will be held a T20 cricket match on Saturday, the 23rd of November at the Police Sports Club, Weymouth, St. Michael. and starting at 7 p.m. So you will have the Ralph Thorne Invitational 11. I'll let you know that I will not be on that team. And versus the Ian Webster Super Celebrity 11. And I'm looking forward to being a spectator there on the night. And I'm inviting all of Barbados to join us in tribute to Walter Blackman and also in celebrating our independence as well. So again, I understand that Mr. Thorne is wicket keeping. The match begins the Ralph Thorne T20 Cricket Classic, the Walter Blackman Memorial Challenge Shield on Saturday, November 23rd. This Police Sports Club, Weymouth St. Michael at 7 p.m. You will have the Ralph Thorne Invitational 11 versus the Ian Webster Super Celebrity 11. And all of Barbados are invited to be there. It is going to be a special occasion celebrating the 50th anniversary of independence and also paying tribute to someone who was dear to a number of Barbadians as a moderator who, he gave his heart. He spoke passionately about Barbados and the plight that we are going through and hoping to see this country prosper and reach its full potential. So come out in tribute to Walter Blackman on that night for the Ralph Thorne T20 Classics. And then on the 24th, we will have a church service, Christ Church Parish Church, followed by a luncheon at the LP headquarters from 12 p.m. The tickets for the luncheon $65. Again, we are inviting all Barbadians to come and join us in this Independence Feast. And our activities will continue on Independence Day with a cocktail and sip on the evening of Independence Day. But before that, we will we'll be hiking through St. Thomas for early morning breakfast hike. So it is important that we put aside the doom and gloom for a bit, but we come out and we actually celebrate and remember what independence means to us and join in the festivities. And I'm hoping that the government will do justice to the fisher folk, that they too can join in the festivities, because you cannot be festive if you don't know how you're going to pay your light bill, your water bill, or how you're going to put food on your table. For me, as someone who eats only fish, I can't be festive either, but I have to be struggling as to where am I going to get my next catch of fish from. And then we also know about the issues with the poultry industry. You have to be struggling just to get a chicken. But I'm saying to Barbadians that if we come together and we celebrate the things that are important, we talk too about the challenges that we are facing. Together, we can work together to find solutions to these challenges once we put Barbadians first. So remember, it is always important to celebrate this month of independence, not to allow the legacy of our Walter Barrow to die. It will never die. And if we stick to his legacy, all of the challenges that we are facing in this country, fishing, agriculture, manufacturing, schools, education, we will be able to find the appropriate solutions that will benefit Barbadians. So again, Saturday, the 23rd of November, I'm looking for all of you at Weymouth Police Sports Club for the Walter Blackman Memorial T20 cricket competition. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to seeing you.
Thank you very much, Senator Ward. Any other questions from members of the media? You have a question? Oh, okay. Anything, final words from you, Mr. Thorne?
Just to say thanks to the fisher folk for continuing the struggle. Don't give up. We're not going to give up on you. And feel free to approach this office in the continuation of this struggle. And indeed, to any Barbadian, you could be in a red shirt, blue shirt. If you're struggling, if you have a struggle that involves the government, or indeed any struggle, this office is here. The Democratic Labour Party is on George Street as well to help in the daily struggles that are confronting the lives of people. So thanks, media, thanks very much for continuing to cover our activities. You're the fourth estate. We feel that our voice is a lot louder when we have you helping us to get our voice out there. So thanks very much to the media for coming. Thanks, Ms. Ali.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thorne. Thank you again, everybody, for coming to hear honest voices for the people. Voices that are important for all Barbadians, because these voices are looking for fair opportunity for all Barbadians.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching.